This is a Sire S3 and I've done quite a lot of mods to it. I'm going to show you the best 5, starting with the tuners. These are Guyker tuners, they're locking tuners, they're £22 and I feel like they're as good as the Fender locking tuners that are on this pink Telecaster. I've taken the strings off and put them back on this several times, you'll see why later in the video, but I've done a lot inside this guitar. And these have stood up really well, also they feel nice, they look nice, which is really important. But for £22, I cannot believe how good these are, and I've tried a lot of cheap tuners. Most just feel like generic cheap tuners with a different stamp on the back. And these don't. So I don't know what they've done different, but they feel really good. Next up, £17.50 mod inside, variable treble bleed. It's like a normal treble bleed, but it's variable, so you can make it sound like a Fender one or a Seymour Duncan one, Kinman, Mojo Tone, whatever you want. It does series and parallel stuff. For those who don't know what a treble bleed is, I'm going to demonstrate. So I'm a little bit excited about this, and this is with a treble bleed. Here the high end stays there. I love this variable treble bleed. The only thing I did that was a bit weird, you can adjust it so you can change like where that treble peak is and how high it is. And I've put it inside this cavity. I should have put it like in this back area so I can adjust it. But I'm going to have to put one in this and in my Les Paul Standard. Just think it's probably just on the neck pickup, to be honest. The bridge doesn't, you don't really need a treble bleed as much on the bridge in my opinion, but for the neck, especially with humbuckers, £17.50. While this was all open, I changed all the electronics. The pots, to me, felt like when you turned them down a bit, you lost too much volume. So it suggested to me they were linear pots or B-type pots. So I've changed them to full-size alpha pots. They're about, I don't know, a £5 each. I also changed the switch because it looked like a cheap switch. It was open and I've got this stuff to hand and I put a new capacitor in. It's about £20 worth of stuff. But the main thing I did was insulate the inside of the cavity with some copper tape. It costs about a £5. And it just shields it, especially when you've got single coils. It's a really good idea and it doesn't cost much. Mod number 4, the Tonerider HSS Overwound pickup set. It's £100 for this set of pickups. I think it costs more because I went for the nickel version. I'm sure it's about £90 if you go for the standard. But these pickups, so I put some in, I put the Alnico 2 Classics in a Chapman Goes For It. Everyone who's heard those, all the comments in that video, everyone's like, what are those pickups? It sounded better than my Les Paul Standard and better than the Les Paul I made with like the most expensive pickups I've ever owned. We've also tried their Telecaster pickups, their P90s, and I've got another set on the way of single coils. These Tonerider pickups, they're like boutique pickups, so I've taken them apart obviously. So they're made of proper flat work, and the humbuckers are all nickel with nickel covers. Normally on cheap pickups they go brass. Just such a high level of attention to detail. And they're £100 or under £100. I think you can get the single coil set for 80. So let's have a quick listen to these because these are fantastic sounding pickups. And because it's got the treble bleed, you can roll the volume all the way down and still retain that clarity. So while the strings are off, I put some of this Monty's instrument food on, and this works fantastically on dark fretboards. I'm going to say like ebony and rosewood, but also Pal Ferro. So if you've got a darker fretboard, and I've put it on Pal Ferro, I use some of this Monty's Monty Presso. This stuff is about £16 a pot, and the Monty Presso, it made it look like rosewood. It just, you know, Pal Ferro has that sort of orangey look to it, which a lot of people don't like. This solves that. And this instrument food, pretty much every time you take a set of strings off, just bosh a coat of this on. Absolutely fantastic stuff, £16. Final mod, £7, brass saddles, just a nicer tone. It's only £7, takes about 10 minutes to do, and the strings are off anyway. So I bought a set of these, put them on. What I do is take the saddles off one at a time and replace them where the other one is, so just make a note of where it is. you'll get an idea, or take a picture on your phone and then just reset it. And if you go by the heights of the ones next to it, you can pretty much gauge where they need to be without having to redo the intonation. It looks cooler, especially with the colour of this body as well. So all up, I spent £183 on mods, a £350 guitar, so obviously that takes it to about £530. Now the Sire S3 is £500, so obviously doing this costs more than just buying a Sire S3, so everyone in the comments is going, well, just buy a Sire S3. The thing about modding is, you don't have to do all of those, but the other thing is, you do them a bit at a time. So you go, right, 1 week I'll do the tuners, then leave it a month, and maybe I'll do the pickups. You might not bother doing like all the rest of the stuff. Also, I've played a Sire S3, we still have one, the drummer's got it at the moment, and this plays better. The Sire S3 is amazing. Also, I didn't want a roasted neck, and this has a non-roasted neck. So we've got a Sire S3. This with the mods, so I'm going to use it at a gig on Friday. I've been using it at rehearsal last week. It does what I want it to do now. The Sire S3, it's really close. Got to be honest, it's a fantastic guitar, but I would still modify it. I think it's got a treble bleed in it. I don't know, something I'd need to tweak it a bit. So I'll probably have to spend £20 or £30 on that to make it how I want it. Also, I prefer these locking tuners are definitely better. So I don't know. You may also have noticed that this started life as a Sunburst guitar, and now it's Shoreline Gold. Now, as a separate thing, I've done a video on this. I sanded it down. It's a mahogany body, and I resprayed it Nitrocellulose Shoreline Gold. I just prefer the feel of Nitrocellulose, and it coincidentally happens to look a lot like Lee Anderton's Sire S3. That's not on purpose. I sprayed this months ago because I leave Nitro about a month to dry, and it's taken me quite a while to do the mods. But it looks fantastic. But because it's Nitro, it feels fantastic too. So I can't wait to play this Friday. Really looking forward to it. And here's a video on the Tonerider humbuckers I mentioned. They're about £100. Now it's the Tonerider AC2 set. So they're like PAFs, any kind of Gibson style guitar, any guitar with 2 humbuckers, put them in. But if you watched a video comparing it to far more expensive pickups, like from a Gibson Les Paul Standard and the guitar I made, they are phenomenal.